if you don't think that reishi is a magic mushroom, either you're not taking the right kind or you just haven't been taking it for long enough. I've been putting off making this video for a long time because I have so much respect and reverence for the power of reishi mushroom that I feel a lot of pressure to make the perfect video worthy of reishi. Its benefits are so wide-reaching that covering them all in one video isn't easy, but I'm gonna do the best that I can. In the first few years of my health journey, I didn't consume any kinds of mushrooms. Early on, there was an influential person in my life who shared with me this view that he had that fungi aren't meant to be eaten and they're, as a whole, not healthy food for humans. My mom wasn't a fan of mushrooms either, so we never really ate culinary mushrooms growing up. So for some time, I took on this erroneous belief. And even though I kept hearing about the wonders of medicinal mushrooms, I didn't touch them. A few years later, I was living in Western Australia, and at the time, cutting-edge health products like tonic herbs and superfoods weren't readily available there. And when they were, the prices were crazy high. So it was easier for me to buy things online from the US and have my parents ship me a big box with all of it. Early one winter morning, I was going into a yoga class at 5:30 in the morning, and I grabbed an herbal tincture bottle out of my care package from home. I was planning to take a few dropperfuls before class to help energize me. I was learning Ashtanga yoga, which is a really physically vigorous yoga, so I needed all the help that I could get. The tincture I expected to be taking had kind of a semi-translucent milky white color, but in the dim candlelight outside the hallway in the yogashala, I could see that there was something much darker in there. It was too dark to read the label, so I took it into the bathrooms to get a better look at it. It turns out I had been mistakenly sent a wild reishi tincture. As I had been learning more and more about mushrooms, my position on them and my openness to using them had really been shifting, and I took this as a sign that it was finally time to dive in. I put a dropperful in my mouth and I held it there. And there was a high level of alcohol in this tincture. So this allows for it to start absorbing straight into the blood via the mucous membranes in the mouth. And I swear I felt this wave of relaxation come over my whole body, like the body's stress was just melting away. And I still experience this to this day with strong, potent reishi. It just really seems to settle things down. I walked into that yoga class feeling amazing. I was a few minutes early, so I rolled out my yoga mat and just stood there for a few minutes saying to myself, wow, this is really nice. This is really nice. Now, when I've mentioned this in other videos, there's no shortage of people commenting saying, I've tried reishi and it didn't do anything like that. That's totally understandable, and there's a good reason why. There's an incredibly vast range of quality and potency of reishi products on the market. And I'll explain in detail a little bit later how to make sure you're getting something that's really high quality. Now, before we go any further, I want to clarify that reishi is not FDA approved to treat, cure, or prevent any disease or health condition. And you should speak with a qualified medical professional before you make any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or supplementation. We're also going to talk about the modern research on reishi. But first, I want to go further back in time, as reishi has been traditionally used in traditional herbal systems for thousands of years, and it features especially prominently in Taoist tonic herbalism. The reishi mushroom, also known as Lingzhi in China, or Ganoderma lucidum in Latin, is one of the most revered herbs in traditional Chinese medicine and in Taoist tonic herbalism. Its name, Lingzhi, translates to the mushroom of immortality, or the divine mushroom, illustrating the reverence that the ancient Chinese had for this herb. The use of reishi dates back over 2,000 years, making it one of the oldest mushrooms known to have been used to promote health. Reishi was also used in Japan, Korea, and Vietnam, but it might surprise you to learn that several Ganoderma species may have also been used by Native Americans for thousands of years. They prepared it as a remedy, and some tribes use the spores of reishi during ceremonies, and they consider them to be sacred. The Potawatomi tribe even powdered it to use it in their smoking mixtures. The earliest written mention of reishi can be traced back to the Han Dynasty from around 2200 to 1800 years ago in various ancient texts on herbal medicine. Reishi has long been considered a symbol of prosperity and longevity. In the context of Taoist tonic herbalism, reishi mushrooms were considered to be among the highest class of super tonic herbs used to achieve radiant health, longevity, and spiritual attainment. To properly understand reishi, it really helps to have a little understanding of the three treasure system, which is a central component of Taoist health philosophy. The Taoists say that your health and your life is formed of the three treasures, Jing, Qi, and Shen. These treasures can be harmed and depleted through unhealthy living, or they can be built up through certain health practices, through nutrition and through the use of tonic herbs. They traditionally use the metaphor of a candle to explain them, saying the Jing is like the wax and the wick of the candle, it's the form. The Qi is the active part of the candle, the flame, it's your active energy. And the Shen, the ultimate purpose of the candle, is the light that it gives off. But in these modern times, I find it helps to use a financial metaphor. The Jing is like your savings account. It's your deep energy reserves. It may be bigger or it may be smaller, depending on what you got from your parents and how healthy they were living, and you use it up over the course of your life. Some people faster, some people slower. Then the Qi is your checking account. This is where you make your daily deposits and withdrawals. It's your ability to generate energy. And when your checking account runs out, you have to dip into your savings, into your Jing. But the ultimate purpose of life isn't just to have a big savings account and a big checking account. It's to have a beneficial impact on the world and on those around you. So once you have a healthy savings account and a healthy checking account, you can focus on your nonprofit to help others. That's your Shen. It's your higher self, the light in your eyes, and it's the light you spread in the world. But you're not going to have an effective nonprofit if your personal finances are a total mess. So you have to start out by building your Jing and building your Qi to lay this foundation for your Shen to flourish. Now, some herbs that you'll find will work on one treasure, like Hoshu Wu is a Jing tonic, or astragalus is a Qi tonic. These are both great, but there's very few special herbs that are classified as three treasure tonic herbs. And reishi is one of those few. It builds Jing, Qi, and Shen. But amongst the three treasures, reishi was particularly cherished by Taoist masters as a Shen tonic for its ability to calm the mind, enhance wisdom, and support meditation practices, increasing that spiritual awareness and insight. Reishi really helps to nourish the spiritual aspects of a person, promoting calmness, balance, inner awareness, and inner strength. Taoists would traditionally say that reishi can help guide you around obstacles standing between you and enlightenment. Now, to modernize that a little bit, I like to think of it like enlightenment GPS. It's gently guiding you around traffic jams and road closures on your spiritual path. Now let's jump in our time machine and take a look at reishi from a more modern perspective. One facet of reishi that helped to build its traditional reputation and has also been the subject of a great deal of modern research is its apparent ability to support and modulate the immune system. But how exactly does it do this? There's two main classes of active beneficial compounds in reishi. You have beta-glucans and triterpenoids. These two compounds can bind to specific receptors on our immune cells, like the macrophages, natural killer cells, and dendritic cells, effectively activating them. This activation helps these cells to perform their roles more effectively, doing things like identifying and eliminating pathogens or infected cells from the body. You can think of it like an operating system upgrade for your immune system. The triterpenoids in reishi have also been studied for their anti-inflammatory properties. By reducing inflammation, they can help regulate the immune system response and prevent the immune system from doing unnecessary damage to our own cells. The triterpenoids are also responsible for helping to regulate stress. And we all know that excessive chronic stress is never going to be good for your immune system. In this 2018 review, they looked at over 2,000 English language papers and almost 7,000 Chinese language papers. Yeah, reishi has been pretty extensively studied. From this, they concluded that reishi has broad spectrum application for the treatment of cancer through regulation of the immune system. Something that I found really interesting is that two are coated with a substance called fibrin, which protects them from your natural killer cells. But reishi may be able to prevent the formation of this fibrin, and by doing so, it can make tumors more vulnerable to your natural killer cells. Then, in this study, which was just published earlier this year, 157 adults either took reishi beta-glucans or they took a placebo. And after 12 weeks, the reishi group showed improvements in a whole array of different immune markers, things like total lymphocytes, serum Ig, natural killer cells, and natural killer cell cytotoxicity. And from this study, they concluded that reishi beta-glucans can effectively modulate the immune system by activating both the innate and the adaptive immune responses. It's also worth noting here that no adverse side effects were reported. Now, just to be clear, I'm definitely not saying that reishi is going to cure any disease. I just love reading and sharing things with you that I find interesting. Regarding the stress resilience benefits of reishi, despite the mushroom's extensive traditional use for this purpose, there haven't yet been a ton of modern English language studies done for this on humans. There have been quite a few animal studies which have shown very positive results though. Two other areas of health that have been getting a lot of attention in recent years, and deservedly so, are sleep health and gut health. In a really interesting study on mice, two groups of mice were fed an unhealthy diet. They all gained weight, so it's never a good idea to be on an unhealthy diet. But those who didn't take reishi gained 25% more weight than those who did, so at least it was minimizing the damage. They found that reishi prevented the development of fatty tissue and also prevented gut inflammation and the buildup of harmful bacteria in the bloodstream. It was also altering the bacterial ratio to create a healthier gut microbiome. Now, the researchers took it one step further, and they did a fecal transplant from the reishi mice into a new group of mice. The group of mice who had never taken reishi but got the fecal matter transplant from the reishi mice, meaning they inherited the healthier reishi microbiome, saw the same reductions in obesity symptoms. So this shows us that it was really reishi's effects on the gut microbiome causing the obesity benefits rather than some other method of action. In animal research, reishi has also been shown to increase total sleep time and decrease sleep latency, which is the amount of time that it takes you to fall asleep. And it seems that this benefit is happening in part due to the effects of reishi on the gut microbiome. Now, I say in part because further research found there to be no less than 36 compounds in reishi that were helping to promote healthy sleep. Unlike insomnia drugs, which affect a single receptor, reishi was found to simultaneously affect multiple different mechanisms. Now, you may recall earlier that I said reishi was traditionally also a chi tonic, supporting the body's energy production. Now, how can it be a sleep tonic and an energy tonic? That's what's meant by the term adaptogen, and reishi is truly an elite adaptogen. If your body needs help sleeping, it'll get that. If your body needs help making energy, it's going to get that. Reishi isn't going to force the body to sleep like a sleeping pill, and it's not going to act like a stimulant like caffeine. It just helps the body reach the optimal state of balance where it can perform like it should. Neurasthenia is a condition that not many people know by name, but it's very similar to chronic fatigue syndrome and HPA axis dysregulation. In a study of 132 people with neurasthenia, they found that after 2 months with taking reishi, there were overall significant improvements. Then, in this study, 48 breast cancer patients with cancer-related fatigue were either given a placebo or 1 gram of reishi spores 3 times a day for 4 weeks. In just a bit, I'll explain more about reishi spores and what makes them so special. But the patients consuming the reishi spores reported better overall well-being, less fatigue, less anxiety, and less depression, and a better quality of life. They also found that 2 necrosis factor alpha and interleukin 6 were lower. And this is great to see because these are 2 important markers of cancer-related fatigue. Now that I've got you all excited about reishi, my concern is that you're going to go on Amazon, buy the first or the cheapest reishi product that comes up, take it, experience no benefits whatsoever, and then decide that this video is all a bunch of BS and never consume reishi again. There's a tremendous spectrum of quality when it comes to reishi products out there, and I want to help you become an educated consumer so you can get the best because your body deserves it. when you're shopping for reishi, you'll see products made from mycelium, products made from fruiting bodies, and products made from reishi spores. The fruiting bodies are the beautiful red part of the mushroom that you actually see growing. The spores are basically the seed or pollen that it shoots off. And in nature, reishi grows on wood, and the mycelium is the part of the mushroom that exists within the wood. Now, how do you collect the mycelium from within the log? You don't. It's not possible. So when you see reishi mycelium products, these are grown on grain rather than wood. And this is a problem for two reasons. The idea here is that you'll grow the reishi on the grain, and the reishi will effectively consume the grain, and everything left over will be reishi, and the grain will be gone. But most companies don't do a very good job of this. And in fact, researchers tested a bunch of mycelium mushroom products and found that the final product was primarily grain powder and contained little to no mushroom material at all. So in many cases, even if it's a certified organic, USA grown mycelium, you're paying crazy money for brown rice powder. There's a couple of companies out there doing a decent job of this, but there's still another problem. Grain isn't the natural food source for reishi. Hardwood is. If I took you off of your natural diet and fed you only grain, you wouldn't be the fullest potential manifestation of yourself. And it's the same with reishi. You're not going to grow magical reishi on grain. There's two main classes of beneficial compounds in reishi. You have beta-glucan polysaccharides and triterpenoids. And if done right, you can grow reishi on grain and make the beta-glucans, but you're not going to make the triterpenes, so you're going to be missing out big time on a major group of adaptogenic compounds that reishi has to offer. Mycelium products have a much milder flavor to them than other forms of reishi, and that's because the active compounds that give reishi its bitter flavor aren't there. Now let's talk about the fruiting body. This is where the magic really starts to happen. But you can't just eat this straight up, and you can't just powder it down. The cell walls inside the fruiting body are made from an extremely strong substance called chitin, which humans don't have the enzymes to break down. You could eat raw reishi fruiting body powder, but it's just going to go right through you and you're not going to get anything out of it. But we can use alcohol and hot water to get through the chitin and extract the beneficial compounds from within. The hot water extraction will get out the water-soluble beta-glucans, and the alcohol extraction will get the alcohol-soluble triterpenoids. Then the water and the alcohol extracts will be combined back together to form a tincture. This is called the dual extract, and you can buy it like this, or you can have the tincture spray dried into a powder form. You always get more bang for your buck in the powder form of the dual extract because you're not paying extra for the shipping and all the extra weight of the liquid in the glass bottles. Then the next level is reishi spores. You've heard me mention that quite a few of the studies looked at specifically using reishi spores on patients. The spores also have very hard cell walls, so they have to be double cell wall cracked in order to make them digestible. The spores contain similar beta-glucans and triterpenoids to what you're going to find in the fruiting body, but at much higher concentrations. So what we do with our reishi product here at Addictive Wellness is we start with a reishi mushroom that's been grown on hardwood in a remote mountain region in a wild-crafted environment. This is then dual extracted and spray dried into a powder, and then we combine it 50-50 with double cell wall cracked reishi spores, because we want to really give you the full experience of everything that reishi has to offer. I'll put a link to this down below. I'd really love for you to give our reishi a try so you can experience what it's all about. We also put it in our tranquility chocolate and our cacao elixir blends, so there's more than one way to enjoy it. After everything I've shared with you here, please let me know down in the comments what benefit or aspect of reishi mushroom gets you the most excited and inspired. And before you go, here's a link to a video that I think you'd enjoy watching next, and here's one the YouTube algorithm thinks you'd enjoy. And there's a link to our website to go give reishi a try. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time.